Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today we've got a bit of a Raids 3 guide. We're going to be talking about the Path of Het, or in other words, Akkha's path. The goal of this guide is to teach you what I have learned so far about completing this path. I will be making a video for each of the first 4 paths and the final boss fight. We've had less than a week to do any of the Tombs of Amascut, so over the next few weeks, we're definitely going to be learning a lot more about the bosses. Strategies will be changed up a little bit. Plus, Jagex could continue to make some adjustments to the raid too. So down the road, I will be making a full Raids 3 guide, including gear setups, invocations, different orders of the rooms, all stuff like that. But for now, we are just talking about the Path of Het. First, we will be going over the puzzle room, then how to actually fight the boss. Then we're going to talk about the invocations for Akkha. And finally, I'm going to just give a full example running through the Path of Het. First, we have the puzzle before the boss. In this puzzle room, your objective is to mine the seal in the middle down to 0 health. You cannot mine the seal until you get this light beam to hit the shielded statue on the other side, though. This can be done by reflecting the light using these mirrors in the room. Sometimes you will have to mine the broken up walls to get your objective here. Higher tier pickaxes will mine the walls faster, by the way. Also, you can deposit your pickaxe in this room, and it will be here in the next raid. So it's kind of like a pickaxe storage. That way you don't need to bring a pickaxe in your original inventory, and you don't have to have it on you in any of the other fights where it's not needed, and you can use that inventory space for more helpful things. Most of the layouts for this puzzle end up requiring you to pick up 3 mirrors and then put them in the right spots, but sometimes you can use the stationary mirrors too. My main tip is that you do not always have to use the stationary mirrors. Even if it looks like they are in the right spot, it turns out that they are not. Here is an example of that. So you see here real quick, the light's going to bounce off a few mirrors. If we pause real quick, then this second mirror here, this is the stationary one. We are unable to move this mirror. So it looks like that we have to bounce it like around this little jutting out wall over here. All we have to do to figure this puzzle out is to move our very first mirror to the west by 1 square, and then we can place a second mirror over here and just go around this stationary mirror, and we only need our third mirror on this spot to hit the shield. When the seal is weakened, you can start to mine from it. You won't be able to mine for very long, though. Higher tier pickaxes do more damage to the seal, and higher mining levels make a big difference in here. Players in the 70s and 80s in mining have been hitting like 12s to 13s, while the 99 miners have been up to 21s if they're also using the dragon pickaxe special attack. It is possible to KO the seal with only 1 puzzle completed, but it pretty much requires everybody to be on dragon picks and 90 plus mining. You also have to start mining the seal immediately after it is weakened for this to happen. Make sure not to spam click the seal, or you're not going to start mining until you stop clicking, and then once the seal is at 0 health, you can move on to the next room. Don't forget to put your pickaxe away. If you leave this room before putting the pickaxe away, you'll have it for the rest of the raid. Now we're on to the Akkha fight. He is a bit tanky. It helps if you have some of the salts from the raid, which work like overloads before you fight him. He's got a lot of health and pretty good defense. On paper, this fight is the most complicated of the first 4 bosses, but after a few runs of the boss, you start to get the pattern down, and it really shouldn't be that bad. Akkha uses all 3 attack styles. He has overhead prayers, and he has 3 special attacks to be aware of, but all of these things are predictable. Akkha's overhead prayers and his attack styles will be following the same pattern, and unless you have that Stay Vigilant invocation on, they're going to change every 7th attack. He will always start by using melee attacks, and these always shift to the left. So his attack styles will start with melee, 7 attacks later he will switch to range, 7 attacks later he'll switch to magic, and then he'll be back to melee, 7 attacks after that, so on and so forth. You will start the fight using magic against him, and he's going to switch his overhead prayers at the same time that he switches his attack styles, so it is every 7th attack, again, unless you're using that invocation. It is very easy to see when this happens since he suddenly has different overheads on, and he's also using a special attack at the same time, but if you keep in mind that it's every 7th attack, you can be ready to switch your gear and overheads like a little bit faster, kind of preemptively. Your attack styles do go in the same order as his did, but you'll never be using the same attack style as he is. So you start with magic, 7 of his attacks later, he's going to switch his overheads, and you have to use melee on him. 7 attacks later, he's going to switch, and you have to use range on him. 7 attacks after that, you're back to magic. Again, all of these 7 attacks, these are 7 of Akkha's attacks, not 7 of your attacks on him. Akkha has 3 different special attacks, and he does use them every 7th attack. Even if you have that Stay Vigilant invocation on, where he's switching his prayers and his attack styles at random, it still will use a special attack every 7th attack. First, we have the memory special attack. It's kind of like the Simon Says electronic game. You'll be shown a pattern in the middle from these symbols, and those are the safe quadrants while the attack happens. So here's an example real quick. The amount of colors in the pattern will depend on what level the room is. So far, I've found that level 0 has 4 colors, level 1 will have 5, and then level 2 and 3 will have 6 colors in the pattern. I haven't bothered to hit up a level 4 plus Akkha quite yet, sorry. If you're hit by any of the quadrant special attacks, you do take some damage, and each one of them gives a different special effect. The fire quadrant will burn you, which does a little bit of damage over time, and it can spread to your teammates. The skull quadrant will inflict you with darkness, which does rapid damage over a short time. The lightning quadrant will shock you, which turns off your overheads for a moment. And the ice quadrant will slow your attacks down for a little while, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it does lower your DPS a lot, which makes the fight longer. It is worth noting that this pattern will never go go diagonal. So if you forget which spot to stand next, always guess one of the quadrants adjacent to the one you're in. It'll give you a 50-50 chance to have it right. For the next special attack, we have the orbs. Players will turn all black, and then anytime that they move, orbs will spawn around them. If any players step on these orbs, they will be inflicted with that same effect as if you got hit by the quadrant attack from the memory attack. So you could get burnt, darkness, shocked, or even slowed down. And finally, we have the detonate special attack. Players will glow white, and in a few seconds, they will detonate, hitting anyone in this little like plus sign around them. You can separate diagonally to try to dodge this, or you could stand all in one spot and nobody will get hit by this attack. I have not noticed a specific pattern for what order he will use the special attacks up to this point. It could be random, or it could be decided at the beginning of the fight. He will always use that special attack every 7th attack, though, during the fight. So far, this has been consistent for every level that I've done on the path. Every 20% damage that you do to Akkha, he's going to spawn some shadows. Well, at 80% health, he spawns all 4 of them, and then every 20% more damage that you do after that, he's going to respawn the one that you already killed. So every 5th of his health, you have to deal with a shadow. When he spawns in the shadows, he will be invulnerable in any quadrant that currently has a shadow in it. So you have to go KO one of the shadows and drag him into that quadrant to do any more damage. You will not be able to kill the same shadow twice in a fight, and you can only KO one of them at a time, since it will fully heal before you can attack the next one. So every 20% health, you just knock out one of the shadows as fast as possible and then start attacking Akkha again. I have found that the shadows have very little defense overall, so the Grazi Rapier was tearing through it, but then I've been trying the blowpipe on a few kills recently, and that was doing very well also. This does depend on what other gear you have to help out with max hits on both of these weapons, and we'll know more information on what exactly these NPCs are weak to further down the road. It is important to kill the shadows quickly. It clearly means that the fight will go faster, but there's also a timer on the wall behind the shadow, and when that bar fills up, all of the quadrants are going to use their special attack, kind of like that memory attack. But if you KO the shadow in that quadrant, then it won't use the special attack there. When you get Akkha down to 0 health, he's going to heal about 20% health back and start his final phase. This phase is pretty intense. He's going to spawn in one of the 4 corners of the room, while the other 3 corners have a shadow there instead. You have to use melee during this phase, so it makes for a good time to dump some Dragon Claw or DDS specs on him. He's going to move corners after a certain amount of attacks, so claws, DDS, and scythe hits are going to make him move more often. Be aware of that. The more players in the raid, the more attacks it takes to move corners. Also during this phase, the balls. The white orbs will be everywhere, and they are not very easy to dodge necessarily. Protect from magic does lower the damage they do to you, not by a whole lot. We're talking about they're normally like 20 to 22 damage, and this turns it to like 14 to 16. It's not that bad, but I found that Redemption's a little bit more reliable, especially once you get low health. At higher health, you can protect magic a little bit longer, because clearly you're not going to Redemption if you're at like 70 health. Also, if you have the Silk Dressing, which heals health over time, or the Ambrosia Potion, which can overheal from any HP, these can make this part a little bit more survivable in a pinch. And just walking around doesn't really make you safer than standing still. Try not to click randomly and hope that you map through the orbs. Try to actually dodge these orbs. It's clearly a lot easier said than done to dodge them, but the more you focus on actually dodging the orbs rather than just running around and hoping that you're getting mapped through them, the better you're going to get at this. It is still 50-50 sometimes for me at this point if I nail this phase or if I'm chugging brews and super restores. It can be a little bit of a pain, but he doesn't have that much health left, so you can speed through it. Now that you know how the default fight works, let's talk about the invocations that you can add to Akkha's fight. First, we have Double Trouble. This is going to cause Akkha to use 2 of his special attacks at one time, which is very difficult to deal with, especially if you have the orbs following you and you have the memory attack where you have to walk around the center. That's very tough, so we've generally had this one off up until now. Keep Back will make Akkha do melee damage when he uses magic and range. This would require some extra work on whoever is tanking, which he does switch tanks all the time, so this would require the whole team to know what they're doing. It's going to generally make for a lot of extra damage if you don't know what you're doing, so for just a bonus 10 points, it hasn't been worth putting on up to this point. Stay Vigilant is that attack that makes Akkha switch his overheads and attack styles randomly instead of every 7 attacks. We had this one on early because we didn't know how many attacks that set interval was anyways, but after we had like 2 or 3 kills in a row at one point where he was just switching way too often, I did finally decide to turn that one back off. And then finally here we have Feeling Special. This one makes all of Akkha's special attacks more potent. The memory attack's going to go faster, the orbs are going to spawn more orbs behind you, and the detonate's going to trigger in more directions. I've only been putting this one on for a couple of solos so far. You don't get the detonate special attack when you're in a solo. The orbs are very easy to dodge when you're by yourself, and that just means that you only have to deal with the faster memory attack. It is pretty fast, but it is still doable. If you do speed up the memory attack, the worst part is that you have to be fully aware of how many colors are going to show. And that's because you have to begin walking like immediately after they show the last color. So if you wait to see if it shows another color, you're already going to be too late and you're going to take the first attack. Now let's go ahead and put this all together, starting with the puzzle room. Alright, I will be starting this raid at Akkha. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that. Getting the spirit first and getting some salts is the way to go, but we're just trying to show off the Akkha room here. So I'm kind of simulating like being low supplies if you're a few rooms in, and then we at least have a super combat and a ranging potion. Not as strong as having salts, but we will take those. First of all, let's pick up some mirrors. You'll notice the ones you can't pick up have like a little lady holding them up, and the ones you can pick up just have nothing in the middle there. Makes it easier visually to tell which one you got to pick up. Clearly, if you just hover over them, you can see, but it's annoying to have to check every mirror. Looks like we might be able to go north in this one. No, this stationary mirror is going to force us to go south, because there's no way we could push this north without going around this mirror first. I'm going to wait for it to shoot a beam, and then I'm going to break this barrier quick. One of these can be picked up right here. Wait for that beam to go by. It's not going to hit me anyway. Oh, we got to go all the way around to this one. This is an interesting one. So actually, I want the mirror right here. And I hope it's facing the wrong way, so it just stops. Yeah, it's going to stop the light right there. It won't be shooting it at me. Oops, got hit by that. This stationary mirror is the one we're going to end it on. We're almost lined up. Make sure it's facing the right way. Oops. And I want to be in the middle as soon as the light hits. So we're going to wait one more. I'm going to go clockwise first. Now we're going to go clockwise, run in. I did use the dragon pickaxe spec, as you saw there. As soon as I see weakened instead of protected in parentheses, there we go. And you generally get 7 attacks in. You got 130 damage to do. So when you're hitting 20s, you're on pace for 140 damage, rather. So we should be good to go on getting this on one run. Beautiful. Very quick. Let's put the pickaxe away and go fight the boss. Alright, I'm using magic to start. He's going to be using melee. I'm actually going to be running away from him to begin. This is probably not the most efficient way to do it in the long run. It'd be a little better to let him attack while I'm using protect from melee and eventually switch his overheads. Because magic's definitely like the slowest attack style in here once you're forced into magic. But you won't take any damage if you just take the first 20% and just taking some laps. So it's a little more efficient way to do it. Oh, I almost got slapped there for sure. Not a more efficient way to do it, excuse me. This is a more, like, supply efficient way to do it, I guess. If you're doing good on potions in general, you could just camp this one early. Because he would already be, he would be protecting range and magic after this. So I could be stabbing him right now instead of doing this. We are almost there, though. At 20%, the shadows are going to spawn. Excuse me. When I'm done 20% damage, the shadows will spawn. That might have been it. Wasn't. There's an attack from him. There they are. I'm going to put on range gear. I'm going to sip that ranging potion. There's his second attack, by the way. Attack 3. We know in the 7th he's using a spec, and he's switching his overheads. Here's the 4th. 5. Might be able to get one more magic hit in. We will. 6. Oops, nice pants, nerd. There's 7. There's the orbs. I shouldn't have been running at all, but we're good to go. I kind of preemptively... Oops, never switched my prayer. Preemptively went to the middle just in case it was memory attack. That wasn't necessarily the call, though. Sip that super combat would help out a little bit. Oh, there's the specs there. Waiting for that one to respawn, and it did. Let's switch gear. Keep cranking. We're going to have the memory attack here in a second. You can still fight this shadow while you do that memory attack. We're going to KO him first. Start on red, black, yellow, white, red, black, yellow, white, red. We head over here. No, oh, I went early. Whew, whew. I definitely clicked a little early there. It was just in time, really. But, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. All right, so we're ranging him. He's using magic. There's his second magic attack. I'm gonna sip a super restore for now. This is 3rd. We get 4th. We'll get the shadow kind of soon. 5th magic attack. There's the shadow. 6th magic attack. So you can just switch your prayers here because you know he's not going to attack you. Instead, he's going to use a spec and switch his overheads. Now he walks up and does his thing. And we're going to be using magic on him for a little bit, which is kind of weak. I'm sure like the shadow is going to be insane if you then had like even more mage gear on you. But I don't bring much of a mage switch currently. Kind of lost count how many attacks he's used, but it's not going to matter. You got a lot of time to see the memory attack coming in hot. And I'm going to switch to my melee gear when that happens. Kind of remind myself where we are in his rotation. Starts at red. So white, yellow, black, yellow. There we go. Come over here, buddy. There we go. Should be through this kind of quick, especially if I had my defender on. Oops. A lot of 0s and a 9. I was talking shit. Suddenly we can't hit. It's going to be at 20% very soon here. We'll be able to attack that thing. There we go. There we go. There, he just switched his overheads, which means he's switching attack styles. And I'll be able to range him when this shadow is done. Come on, man. There we go. Honestly, like, we'll go to Blowpipe for a second. Blowpipe's not that bad on him. This all depends on scaling. The more invocations you have, the higher defense he has. And there's a decent amount of the zeros there, but... I mean, it did alright. You can't even say it's that bad on him. After that, oh yeah, memory attack. Starts on red, so just remember the next 4. White, yellow, black, yellow. I was a little late, so I clicked immediately on that one after... Let's see, I have to use magic, which means he's using rain? No, he's using melee. I'm a fool. Completely forgot. We're almost done. I should be sipping up because it's about to get difficult. I like to be at high health when this starts. Run over and attack him. Sip this. I want to protect from magic would be smart. Trying to outstep these things. Could have done a claw spec there, but I was a little focused on those. So 2 pokes and a claw spec's the way to go in a solo. May not need it. I'm going to get hit by one of these, aren't I? Yep. I'm going to sip this. This would be better if I had salts because it's like an overload. It would have re-upped my super combat for me. But we still made it through. 434 on the kill. With no salts, it's actually pretty solid. And that's the end of that run. We are done with the Path of Het. I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about when it comes to this path and the Akkha fight, everybody. Like I said, I will be making a guide for each of these first 4 rooms and the final boss over the next few days. And then further down the road, when we have even more information about the raid, and I've gotten a lot more KC so that I'm a lot better at it, I will be putting together a full guide for this raid. If you still have any questions about the guide, be sure to let me know in the comments section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed the video or you just got some useful information, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch, which should be linked on the screen and in the description. So if you've been enjoying this content, be sure to check me out on the Twitch side of things too. I am also on Twitter and have a Discord, which are linked in the description. Thank you very much for watching this Path of Het guide, everyone, and best of luck on your Raids 3 grinds.